Good morning, everyone. Let's talk about what's going on this week, and then a little bit of information about mitosis and cytokinesis. First, as usual, there's no Zoom meeting formally this week. If you need to have one with me, make sure you let me know. We will totally set that up and go through things together. But do make sure you go over to the Google Classroom and click our Google check-in form so that I know you're checking in with me. And if you have any questions, make sure you ask them on there or email me any questions that you might have. Monday this week, there is a cell cycle and cancer Edpuzzle video that you need to watch. Make sure you go through and watch the video carefully and then read the questions carefully and submit your questions. Take your time. As we all know, Edpuzzle doesn't let you redo your questions, so take your time and answer them accurately so that you get as many points as possible. Tuesday, there's a reading assignment. I've attached a PDF document of the chapter of your textbook, and there's about 5 pages I want you to read. In the PDF, it's pages 5 through 9, so you don't need to read the whole chapter, just pages 5 through 9. All about mitosis and cytokinesis. Knowing that information is pretty important for the next assignment this week. So read those. And then there's a Google Doc. To get points for your reading assignment, all I want you to do is open the Google Doc and type, I read the pages. You can sign your name or whatever, but just type, I read the pages, and submit that Google Doc. And then you will get the points for doing the reading assignment. So make sure you do that. And then Wednesday, the next assignment is the mitosis and cytokinesis questions. Those pages you read on the PDF, pages 5 through 9, those are going to be a really good reference for this assignment. All the information, can be found on those pages, as well as Google, of course, but those pages exactly have what you need. In this assignment, you will be looking for Google images that you'll paste in the assignment, as well as typing out answers. So there's going to be a little bit of both, a little bit of image pasting and a little bit of typing is where all of your answers are going to come from. And again, all the information, you can just look directly from that PDF, pages 5 through 9, and then boom, there's the information. The images, of course, you're going to need to go to Google to find those images and paste them in the document. So make sure you do that. Okay, that's your assignments for the week. Take your time, do your best, ask me questions if you need to. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit, and we are going to talk about what happens with the cell cycle, so interphase, mitosis, cytokinesis. We're going to talk about what happens with the cell cycle if there's no regulation, if it goes unchecked. We're going to see that some bad things can start happening to cells. So let's shift gears and look at that. Okay. So in a normal cell cycle, we have these things called cyclins. So the timing and rate of cell division are important, and they are controlled by proteins and enzymes. So when stuff happens and how it happens has to be regulated to happen correctly. The cell cycle in eukaryotic cells, so our cells, plant cells, animal cells, it's driven by a combination of 2 different substances. Cyclins, which are proteins that bind to enzymes called cyclin-dependent kinases or CDKs. And then these different cyclin/CDK combinations control different activities during different stages of the cell cycle. So if you look at this image of the cell cycle, remember G1S and G2, that's interphase, and then mitosis and cytokinesis. Different cyclins kind of trigger each of those stages to start. There are checkpoints in between, so it gets to a certain point and things are checked to make sure things happen correctly. Sometimes things don't happen correctly, and that's what we're going to get into in a second. Again, these checkpoints, we think of them as quality control checkpoints. The cell cycle has these built-in checkpoints that are supposed to monitor the cycle and then stop the cycle if something goes wrong. If they notice DNA was transcribed and translated incorrectly, or something's going on, all kinds of things, these checkpoints can stop, reverse a little bit, and try to correct it, or stop altogether if there's no way to correct it. There are checkpoints after each stage of interphase to protect against duplicating DNA that has been damaged. So again, these checkpoints are very important. They make sure that everything is functioning and happening exactly the way it's supposed to be in the cell cycle. Now, when the cell cycle gets a little out of control and it goes unregulated, these checkpoints are not working, this is how cancer happens. Think about it. The cell cycle controls growth and division of cells. If that's unchecked and uncontrolled, cells are going to start growing and growing and growing and growing and dividing and dividing and like over and over and over without any checkpoints. That's cancer. When you hear about cancer, that's what's happening. Cancer is the uncontrolled growth and division of cells, and it results when cells stop responding to the controls of the cell cycle. Cancer cells can kill an organism many ways, by crowding out normal cells, which results in the loss of tissue function. It diverts much needed energy and resources to those cells instead of the cells that need to be there. It is just not a good situation. Things that can cause cancer, well, we have mutations or changes in the DNA that cause cell growth and division of these cancer cells. Certain environmental factors can affect the occurrence of cancer cells. Like too much sun can cause skin cancer, smoking can cause lung cancer, other poisons and things that exist can cause various kinds of cancer. Now, substances that we know can cause cancer, we call those substances carcinogens. So anything in our environment that could cause cancer is called a carcinogen. Okay, we also have apoptosis. This is the process of programmed cell death. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. This happens when a cell's life cycle is supposed to be over after it's been replaced. So cells going through apoptosis, they shrink and shrivel, and it occurs during development. It also occurs in cells that are damaged, and it also occurs in cells that may lead to cancerous growths. So it's like a normal lifespan of a cell. At the end of its life, apoptosis is going to occur. If the cell gets damaged, apoptosis could occur if that damage is beyond repair. And then if the cell recognizes that it could lead to cancerous growth and all those checkpoints and regulators are properly in place, and it knows it might lead to cancer, apoptosis can occur then too, because those checkpoints tell it, hey, this is not good news. We got to stop before something really bad happens. So that's a few ways that apoptosis could occur. Now, in our body, we have what's called stem cells. Multicellular organisms have these very specialized cells, like brain cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, blood cells. All these cells are very specialized and specific for a very specific function. Like a bone cell does not look like a muscle cell, and a nerve cell does not look like a blood cell, and so on and so forth. These are specialized cells. Now, before a cell becomes a specialized cell, those cells are called stem cells. And stem cells have the potential to become whatever kind of cell that they are supposed to become. The word for that is it has pluripotential. It is pluripotent. Cells that are pluripotent can become any kind of cell. Now we have embryonic stem cells. After fertilization, the initial mass of cells, which is about 100 to 150 cells, remain undifferentiated. These comprise embryonic stem cells. And as development continues, cells receive signals that initiate their differentiation into specialized cells. So again, they're undifferentiated. They have the potential to become any kind of cell, but they haven't yet. They're like a blank slate. Now, adult stem cells, these can be found in various tissues in the body. They might be used to maintain and repair tissues. If you get a cut, they're going to come in there and become the cells they need to become. They're more developed and specialized than embryonic stem cells, but they're still able to differentiate into different cells. So they're not as blank of a slate as an embryonic stem cell, but they are still more of a blank slate than specialized adult cells. Okay, that is your information about cell cycle regulation and some of the bad things that can happen if those things go unchecked. Make sure you watch this video again if you need to get that information down, and make sure you work on this week's assignments. Go back and finish some previous assignments if you need to, and good luck on all that. And as always, make sure you email me any questions that you might have while you're working.